Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. We weren't even arguing. That's the part one can't stop thinking about. There was no tension, no slamming of cabinets, no thunder in the air. Just grilled salmon, some overpriced wine, and the soft clicking of silverware. And then, he vanished. The man I married for 13 years, the man who used to rub my back in the car because I hated long drives, who once cried when we couldn't adopt a second cat, just stood up, placed his napkin on the table like he was done with dessert, and walked out the front door. No raised voice. No accusations. Just silence. But maybe I should rewind. You're probably wondering what I said. And to be honest, I keep asking myself that too. Because I didn't mean for it to come out like that. All I said was, I wonder what my life would have been like if I hadn't settled so soon. I didn't even say it directly to him. I said it into my wine glass. I said it half laughing, trying to make a point to our friends about choices and timing. And yet, it shattered everything. He didn't say a word. Just stood up, left his food untouched, and disappeared. At first, I thought he went to the porch. Then I checked the driveway. His car was gone. His phone was on the kitchen counter. His keys were still in the dish. It's been 6 months. 6. And now I sit here alone, wondering if he'll ever come back, or if that sentence, those 12 words, were enough to erase me from his world. But this isn't just about me. Because what I didn't know, and what I found out after he left, is going to make your jaw drop. Because his disappearance? It wasn't random. It was planned. And everything that came after it, the bank account closures, the storage unit key, the email from someone I'd never heard of, it all points to one thing. He was waiting for that moment. He wanted an excuse to vanish. And I handed it to him on a silver plate. Do you want to hear what happened next? Because what I found inside that blue envelope in our mailbox changed everything. The day after he disappeared, I woke up still thinking it was a dream. His pillow was cold, untouched. No note, no text, nothing. Just a half-finished dinner and that damn sentence replaying in my head. I wanted to believe he needed a breather, a night away, but the silence in the house had weight. It pressed on my chest like guilt with teeth. I sat at the kitchen table in the same robe I'd worn the night before, the wine glass still sitting where I left it, and stared out the window for hours. I kept waiting to hear his keys, to hear Winnie's paws tapping behind him, to hear something. Instead, I heard the mailbox slam shut. I don't know what possessed me to check it. Maybe I thought he'd left me a letter. I opened the little metal door, and there it was, a blue envelope, no return address, my full name written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Typed. No greeting, no signature. Just this. He didn't vanish. He relocated. Follow the ink. That was it. 8 words. Like some cryptic puzzle designed to pull me down a rabbit hole. At first, I laughed, too hard and too sharp. It had to be a prank. But something in my gut twisted. I knew my husband. He was a quiet man. Thoughtful. Measured. And also, obsessed with old things. Ink. He restored vintage typewriters and printing presses for a hobby. Our basement was his sanctuary, a maze of dusty drawers, drawers labeled in his loopy penmanship, drawers I never touched. I always said it smelled like old ghosts down there, and he'd smile and say, "That's the smell of history." So I went downstairs. The air hit me like a memory. Musty paper, cold metal, the soft hum of forgotten machinery. I looked around, my hands trembling, until I spotted the drawer labeled INK, Europe. I opened it slowly, half expecting nothing, and found a manila folder. Inside were maps, flight receipts, hotel reservations, all dated weeks before the dinner. He had booked a one-way ticket to Amsterdam. He hadn't just left. He planned his exit, down to the hour. And yet, he kissed me goodbye the day before like everything was normal. He let me make his favorite pasta. He laughed at my dumb joke about the neighbor's ugly garden gnome. He even folded his laundry. I sat on the cold floor for hours, just holding the folder. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, a single thought wormed into my head. This wasn't a reaction. It was a response. He'd been waiting for that sentence. My sentence. And when it finally slipped past my lips, soft and sarcastic and half-joking, it was the trigger he needed to put his plan into motion. But the mystery was only beginning. Because tucked behind the folder was something else. Something far stranger. A photograph. Of him. Standing in front of a building I didn't recognize. With a woman. And a child. Do you want to know what I found out next? Because the truth about that photo? It nearly destroyed me. I don't remember how long I sat on the floor staring at that photo. It wasn't old, wasn't faded or curled at the corners like something tucked away in an attic. It looked recent, high quality. It had clearly been printed with purpose. My husband, well, I guess, stood in front of what looked like a bookstore, wearing the same flannel jacket I had bought him last Christmas. He was smiling. Not the half smile he always gave for pictures with me. The "can we be done now" kind of grin. No, this one was genuine. Alive. Beside him was a woman I had never seen before, blonde, maybe mid-30s, with a soft face and eyes locked on him like he was the sun. In front of them, holding both their hands, was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 5. Her hair was the exact shade of his. I don't know what part of me broke first. Maybe it was the realization that while I'd been buying scented candles and planning weekend brunches, he had been building a second life. Not in secret, not out of guilt. No, this wasn't some affair tucked into the shadows. This was public, intentional, photographed. I kept flipping the photo, praying there'd be something on the back. A name, a date, coordinates, anything. There was only one word: Voltaire. I should have stopped there. Any sane person would have. But I couldn't. I went upstairs, grabbed my laptop, and searched every bookstore named Voltaire in Amsterdam. There were 3. I cross-referenced storefronts until I found the exact one from the photo. And then I made the worst decision of my life. I emailed them. I didn't even know what to say. I just asked if a man named Wesley Hargrove had been in recently. I used a fake name, said I was an old friend from the States. I didn't expect a reply, but the next morning, I got one. Wesley and his family are regulars. If you'd like to leave a message for him, we're happy to pass it along. Family. That word punched me in the stomach. It was official now. No guessing, no wondering if maybe it was an old photo from a past life. He had a new family, and I was the discarded chapter. But here's where things got even stranger. When I clicked the email header to check the address, I noticed something odd. The reply didn't come from the main bookstore address. It came from a private domain linked to a publishing company, one that I had never heard of before, but when I looked into it, I found that Wesley owned it. He had started it, a small imprint, specializing in historical preservation of rare printed texts. He hadn't just left me. He'd reinvented himself. While I was sobbing in our empty house, he was building an entirely new identity overseas, complete with love, a child, and a literal company with his name on the masthead. And the worst part? The timeline didn't match up. He didn't meet her after leaving me. He met her before. I dug through our shared credit card statements, email records, receipts I hadn't looked at twice. And the more I traced, the more I realized the planning didn't start when I made that dinner comment. It started 2 years ago. Now ask yourself, what kind of man pretends to be your husband for 2 years, just waiting for the moment you finally say something that justifies walking away? I wasn't just left. I was rehearsed. Want to know what I did next? Because the answer might surprise you. I told myself I wasn't going to chase him, that he didn't deserve it, that if someone can spend 2 years pretending to love you while laying the foundation for a second life, they don't deserve your pain. But that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just cut you open. It keeps picking at the wound when you try to move on. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every room in the house screamed his name. His scent was still in the closet. His old book sat half-read on the nightstand. He didn't even bother to take his copy of The Old Man and the Sea, the one I gave him on our 3rd anniversary, signed with a note. Thank you for being my safe place. So I bought a plane ticket. Amsterdam. One way. I told no one. I told myself I wasn't going there to confront him. I just needed closure. I needed to see with my own eyes that he really existed in this new world, that he hadn't just disappeared into a fantasy I couldn't reach. The flight was blurry. My brain was sludge by the time I landed. I didn't check into a hotel right away. I took a taxi straight to the address I found tied to his publishing company, Voltaire Imprint. The storefront looked exactly like the photo. Clean brick, iron-framed windows, a weathered wooden sign that gave it that vintage, intellectual vibe he always loved. I stood across the street for 10 minutes before I walked in. The bell above the door jingled like something out of a movie. The place smelled like coffee and old pages. There were maybe 4 people inside, browsing. A young guy behind the register didn't even look up. And then I saw him. He came out of a side door, holding a tray with 2 lattes. He was talking to someone behind him. His laugh echoed, familiar, warm, a sound I hadn't heard in months. Then she stepped out after him. the woman from the photo, and the little girl, holding a plush fox. He bent down and kissed her forehead, then handed her a warm chocolate milk. My heart felt like it turned to glass. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I walked up to the register and asked for the manager. The young guy blinked at me, then called out, "Wes? Someone here for you." Wesley turned, saw me. His face dropped, not with guilt, but with something else. Like a ghost had walked in. He didn't say my name, didn't move toward me, just said, quietly, "This wasn't supposed to happen." I asked him one question, just one. My voice cracked when I said it. "Was anything real?" He looked down, and then back at the woman. And I swear, that hesitation, it was everything. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He just whispered. I tried to make it real, until I couldn't lie anymore. I walked out. No screaming, no demands. I just walked until I found a park bench, sat down, and stared at a canal while pigeons fought over breadcrumbs at my feet. I stayed in Amsterdam for 2 more days. Didn't try to contact him again. But on my last morning, I found a letter under my hotel room door. No envelope, no name, just my name typed on the front. Inside, something I never saw coming. He left me something I didn't ask for, something I didn't want. And it changed everything I thought I knew about why he left. Want to know what was in the letter? I sat on the edge of the hotel bed for nearly half an hour before opening it. That thin sheet of folded paper sat on the nightstand like it weighed 100 pounds. My name printed on the outside, centered, clinical. It didn't feel like a love letter, or even an apology. I kept wondering if he wrote it before I arrived, or after he saw me at the bookstore. Either way, it was deliberate. And if he wanted me to read it before leaving the city, he succeeded. My flight was in 6 hours. I hadn't packed. I hadn't slept. And my stomach twisted like it was bracing for something radioactive. Inside, there were only a few paragraphs, but each one peeled back layers I didn't even know I'd buried. Marabeth, I've rewritten this dozens of times, but none of the versions feel right. You deserve clarity, even if I didn't give it to you when I should have. The truth is, the moment you said what you said at dinner, it didn't destroy me. It confirmed everything I had already accepted quietly for years. We became good at surviving each other, but not at living with each other. I waited for a moment that would feel like a clean cut. That was selfish. I own that. The woman you saw is not a stranger. Her name is Helene. And before you twist the timeline, no, there was no physical betrayal while we were still together. But I did love her before I ever left. I tried not to. I tried to fix what we had. You didn't know that because I never told you I felt broken. Because you never asked. You once told me love meant folding laundry without being asked. I folded it. I folded myself. Over and over. Until I couldn't recognize the shape anymore. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I didn't run away. I let go. And I hope someday you will too. I left something for you. In our attic. The cedar box. It's yours. I had to read it 3 times before it all sank in. The coldness of it. The calculated tone. Not cruel. Not warm either. Just final. A man tying the last knot on a clean exit. But what gutted me most wasn't the affair. It was the truth buried in between. We were surviving each other. I'd spent years blaming the quiet spells between us on stress, work, bad sleep, hormones. But the truth is, we hadn't truly talked in a long time. We communicated through routines, through shared shows and grocery lists, through the rhythms of survival that looked like love from the outside. I think I stopped asking him how he felt somewhere around year 6. And he stopped offering. But I never thought he'd choose a life without me. I never thought he was capable of erasing our years and replacing them with something soft and new. After reading the letter, I went to the airport early. I sat in a corner, hood up, headphones in without music, just watching people live. Couples holding hands. Families herding sleepy kids. Solo travelers like me, haunted by whatever they'd left behind. Back home, I almost didn't open the attic. I almost threw his letter in the trash and slammed that door shut for good. But 2 nights later, curiosity won. I pulled down the ladder, climbed into the dusty wooden space we used more for storage than memories, and found the cedar box. Inside were photographs. Us. From the beginning. Before things got heavy. He'd labeled them. First fall together. Boston trip. That terrible Airbnb you loved. There were ticket stubs. Our wedding invitation. The first note I ever left him, scribbled on a napkin. Don't forget milk, and also I love you. At the very bottom, under everything else, was a flash drive. I plugged it into my laptop expecting more pictures. But instead, there was a single video. And what he said in that video, it rewrote everything again. Do you want to know what he told me, face to face? I didn't play the video right away. The flash drive sat on my desk like it was radioactive. Every time I reached for it, something inside me whispered, do you really want to know? Because once you watch someone say goodbye, with their eyes, their voice, their full chest, you can't unsee it. It's not just pixels. It's memory. It's finality. It's real in a way text can never be. But of course I watched it. The screen lit up with a soft frame. Wesley in our old living room, sitting in the same armchair where he used to read on rainy weekends. He looked tired. Not like he hadn't slept, but like he hadn't felt in a long time. And even though I was alone in my room, I found myself sitting up straighter, like I was in the room with him. Like this was a conversation we were about to have. He cleared his throat. Hey, he said, voice low. If you're watching this, then you found the box. I know you probably hated the letter. I'd hate it too. But I need you to hear this from my mouth, because words on a page won't do it. He looked down for a second, like he was choosing what not to say. Then he looked straight at the camera. I loved you. I know that probably sounds hollow right now, but I did. You were my first real home. And I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I stopped loving who I was with you. I flinched at that, physically, like someone slapped me across the mouth. He continued. You always wanted me to speak up more. Be bolder. Take charge. I tried. But somewhere along the way, I realized I was more of a passenger than a partner. I don't blame you for that. You were always stronger. You moved faster. You made decisions when I froze. But it meant I started shrinking. I didn't know how to say, I feel small, without sounding ungrateful. He looked away, eyes glassy. I didn't plan to fall for someone else. Helene didn't come in like a movie plot. She came in like a whisper, someone who listened without fixing, who didn't need me to be more than I was. And I kept thinking, if Marabeth ever found out, she'd hate me forever. So I buried it. Until you said that sentence. He smiled sadly. That sentence, it gave me the excuse I couldn't give myself. And I know that makes me a coward. I won't fight that label. But please don't think I left you because of her. I left because I didn't know how to tell you I'd already left a long time ago. There was a long pause. I almost turned it off. But then he said one last thing, soft, final. You were never not enough. You were just never what I needed to grow. I hope you find someone who loves your fire without trying to outrun it. And I hope you forgive me. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. Because I still think about the way you laughed when you spilled wine on the rug and blamed it on the cat. That was real. You were real. We were real. Even if it ended. The screen went black. I sat there in the dark, the silence heavier than anything I'd ever felt. It wasn't the confession I expected. It wasn't cruel or manipulative. It was honest in the kind of way that leaves bruises. Not the cheating, not the betrayal, but the truth that sometimes people don't leave you. They leave the version of themselves they were when they were with you. I didn't cry. I thought I would. But instead, I felt something stranger. Something colder. Like maybe I didn't really know him. Like maybe I didn't really know myself. And I started wondering, had I been the one sleepwalking through our marriage too? The answer to that would come sooner than I expected, from a person I never imagined hearing from again. It came 2 weeks later, just when I had finally stopped checking my email every hour like some kind of ritual. I had returned to work, sat through conversations with friends who tiptoed around the topic like I was made of glass, and started therapy because I needed someone to talk to who didn't look at me with pity. Life didn't feel normal, but it had shifted just enough that I could at least pretend I was functioning. Until I saw the subject line, Are you Marabeth? I think we should talk. The email was from someone named Vera. No last name, no business domain, just a Gmail address that looked like it had been created for a very specific purpose. My stomach turned. I almost deleted it. But something about the tone, sharp, not kind, not cruel, made me open it. I don't expect you to believe me, but I was with Wesley before you ever knew about Helene. You probably don't know about me because I was never meant to exist. But I did. For 5 months. And then he vanished. Just like he did with you. I read the message 3 times before the words landed. Another woman. A third life. A piece of the puzzle I hadn't even known was missing. Vera had met him at a historical print fair in Philadelphia 3 years ago. He was traveling alone, pitching his preservation work. She was a curator with a passion for antique manuscripts. They bonded over Gutenberg ink densities, and shared hotel breakfasts. She described him like I knew he could be, soft-spoken, deliberate, always 2 steps behind his emotions, like he was afraid of being found out. They were involved for months. She never knew he was married. He always said he was between things. They exchanged letters, actual handwritten ones, because of course they did. He made her feel like she was the only one who understood him, the only one who didn't ask him to be louder, bigger, more. And then one day, she showed up at his rented apartment in the city and found it empty. No trace, no forwarding address, just gone. The detail that sent a shiver down my spine? He left her a letter too. A printed note, not even handwritten. 4 lines. Don't search for me. I was never yours to keep. I hope you remember me softly. I wanted to scream. For her. For me. For all the versions of Wesley that had existed for everyone except the one I thought I knew. He didn't just walk out on our marriage. He had been rehearsing disappearances like a magician perfecting vanishing acts. Vera asked if I wanted to talk. I said yes. We met on a video call. And the moment her face appeared, I felt something I hadn't felt since he left. Connection. Not romantic. Not even friendship. Just the relief of being seen by someone who knew the exact shape of the hole he left. She said something I'll never forget. He doesn't leave because he hates who he's with. He leaves because he hates who he pretends to be with us. That stayed with me. It still does. Because maybe I wasn't abandoned because I was too much, or not enough. Maybe I was just the wrong mirror. Maybe we all were. I didn't reply to Vera's last message. I didn't need to. Sometimes shared pain doesn't need more words. Just acknowledgement. But what I did next, it wasn't about him anymore. It was about reclaiming the pieces he left behind. And what I found when I did that will stay with me forever. A month after Vera and I spoke, I stopped waking up with his ghost sitting at the edge of my bed. I started rearranging the house, not just the furniture, but the entire energy. I sold the dining table where I'd said that sentence. I painted over the gray hallway he always insisted was calming. I gave away the books he left behind, every single one except The Old Man and the Sea. I kept that. Not because I missed him, but because that version of me, the one who still believed, deserved to keep something. For a while, I told myself I wanted answers. Why he staged his exit like a novel. Why he orchestrated a second life in Amsterdam. Why he needed someone else to be himself. But the truth is, even if he answered every question, it wouldn't change the fact that he left. Or that I survived it. I found the strength to close our shared bank account. I filed the divorce papers, not out of revenge, but peace. And I started writing again, just for me. Quietly, at night, when the house hums with silence. I write stories about women who lose everything and build something better from the rubble. The last time I thought about him seriously was the day I got a small package in the mail. No note, just a first edition book, one of the rare ones he always chased. A sticker inside the cover said, "For the one who folded and then unfolded." That's all. No return address. Just a strange kind of punctuation mark on the end of a chapter one never chose, but finally accepted. I don't think I'll ever fully understand Wesley, but I no longer need to. People leave. People hide. People lie to themselves in such elaborate ways they forget they ever knew the truth. But that's not my burden anymore. I thought his disappearance would define me. It didn't. What defined me was what came after, the rebuilding. The late nights with tea and no one to answer to. The day I laughed, really laughed, at a dumb comedy show with no one beside me, and didn't feel hollow. The slow shift from asking why me, to saying thank you. I wasn't erased. I was rewritten. By me. So, if you're still here, thank you for listening. And if you've ever had someone vanish from your life, without warning, without apology, just know, their exit is not your ending. You're on the Reddit Confessions channel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What moment from this story hit you the hardest? The photo? The letter? The reveal from Vera? Drop your reflections below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Raw, real, and sometimes redemptive.